So if you watched a previous video this month where we talked about our goslings and turkeys arriving, you know we don't have any turkeys. They did not make transport, and then Chris and I decided to not pursue doing turkeys this year. It would have been our first year, and we got a lot of other things going on. So we decided that it would be better to hold off, just take the credit for them. But I had bought a large turkey at the local box store that was on sale for 98 cents a few months ago. And now that we're going to butcher chickens here soon, we needed the freezer space. Today I'm going to show you how I parted out that turkey, and then in subsequent videos I'm going to show you how many different meals I made out of it. Today I'm going to show you how I process a whole turkey to make several meals for the family. So I bought this 21.68 pound turkey for, let's see, it was $21.24, and I am sure I'm going to make at least 6 or 8 meals out of this, if not more. I will start first by saying, excuse the mess in the kitchen behind me. I'm doing about 15 projects all at once. So first thing we're going to do is open the turkey. I'm going to move this over to the sink. Now, because we will not be using this turkey for roasting, we're going to be taking out all of the things they put in. Some places put these plastic things to hold the legs. Now, what you cannot see is I have several bowls over here off to the side, 4 of them. I might need more. The idea is to separate this meat into sections. If you have any ice, go ahead and just throw it away. So I took the turkey neck out, and I'm going to turn this over and let it drain. And this turkey has the giblets in the back, so I'm also going to take that out and put it in the same bowl as the hearts, the neck. Let everything drain out. I'm also going to remove the little thermometer because we won't be roasting it. And so there you have the turkey for us to start cutting it up. So the first thing we're going to do with the turkey is to remove the wings. If you just pick up the turkey, or pick up by the wing, you can see the wing bone, and you should be able to feel a joint in here. And you're just going to peel away the skin out from around that joint. And there, I found it. So I'm just trying to get all the skin and ligaments from around that joint. And find the joint. There it is. Now I'll remind you all, I am not a professional at this. So I sometimes butcher the meat a little bit. There we go. Just little pieces still. And there you got the chicken wing. So I'm going to put that in one bowl. And you notice there's a socket there. That is what we were looking to take out. So now I'm going to flip it to the other side and do the same thing with this wing. Sometimes you need to move it a little bit. It's been frozen, so it's kind of a tough meat, or not tough meat, but the muscles. Now this one came out like it should. If you're getting it right, it should come right out. So set that aside in the same bowl as the other one. The next thing we're going to do is take off the legs and thighs. You know, so I'm kind of moving them around. First thing is to get the skin, and I'm trying to get it as close to the leg as possible. There we go. And that should allow you to kind of open up the thigh area like this. And you will see about where the thigh is. close. This is cold. You do want to do this with a carcass that's semi-frozen. I left this defrost in the fridge for several days, but it still, as you saw, had ice inside of it. Makes the meat a little bit easier to cut. And the same thing here, clean cut, removing the bone from the socket. You're basically dislocating it. And then we're going to turn the turkey around and do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to move that joints a couple times just to get it moving and get the skin as close to the thigh as possible, and just pull. So about now is when I take the turkey, move it over, and kind of rinse my cutting board a little bit. Have a little cleaner spot to work. Another thing that I always do, but sometimes first, sometimes last, is a lot of times the tail is still attached. So I go ahead and take that off and put that in my broth bowl. So now what you are left with are the two breasts. And I am going to, in an air bubble, I am going to cut these into 2 roasts. And I haven't decided if I'm going to make lunch meat out of all of them, or if I'm going to make lunch meat on one half and maybe jerky out of the other. Haven't decided that yet. So one thing I am going to do, in case, let's see which side has more skin, it doesn't really matter. I am going to pull the skin back, and I'm just using my fingers to get under there. Well, maybe there's an area here it's not letting me, so trying to get a lot of this skin. And this is in case you want to roast this for lunch meat. I want the skin intact because I will wrap the roast in the skin and keep it nice and juicy while we either roast or smoke it. See, all I'm doing is just pulling on the skin, trying to keep it intact, using my fingers to kind of disconnect the fatty layer under the skin all the way across to the breastbone between the 2 halves. You can also use the back of your knife if you don't like using your fingers. I'm just so used to using my fingers. When you get to this back end, there's going to be a lot more fat, or the front end actually, on the breast. So there we go. Now I have this half exposed. This is the part I am not the best at. It's kind of like filleting meat. There's a bone here, and what you're trying to do is follow the bone to get the meat off. There's the bone. I found it. Once you get started, it's a little easier because you can use your fingers to pull away a little bit and just kind of follow that bone. There we go. So I kind of open this up and see if you guys can see there. There's the bone. I'm just taking the knife and following that bone. Being careful to keep my fingers out of the way. And there you have one turkey breast. Like I said, I haven't really decided if I'm gonna make jerky out of this. I think I might. So I have another bowl for the breasts. I probably should have got a bigger one because that one's awful. That one's awful small. So now I'm gonna proceed to doing the same thing on the other side. I'm going to be careful this time to try to keep the skin intact because I want to be able to wrap this side with that skin from the other side. It's a little harder on this side because it wants to slip. So you can either put, sometimes I put paper towels or something under it just to kind of give it a little bit of, there we go. A little something to grab onto. So I'm going to take the skin and make sure it's all out of the way, all the way down. So if you notice, the bone is here. The skin that I pulled back is pretty far back. Let me get some more all the way down. There we go. This what's here is fat here, and this is skin. And then the bone that I'm going to cut along is right there. It's the same thing. Get started trying to find the bone and get enough started in there so I can put my fingers in and pull away. This is where it gets kind of interesting. I keep that plastic thing that they put in there out of the way. Now, some of you might be wondering why I'm not worried about leaving all this meat. I am going to can some of this meat. So the next step after getting this next breast off is going to be picking all that excess meat off to can. So leaving a little bit doesn't really bother me. So I'm going to set that off to the side for a minute. So now this is the second breast. And I am going to cut this tendon off the tenderloin. There we go. I can just go in my broth bowl. So this is the second breast. I am going to pull some of the fat off because I don't want this much fat on my lunch meat. But the fat is going in the broth bowl. So this is the tenderloin. I'm going to put it in the middle. I'm going to roll this. And then this extra skin that I took off the other side is what I'm going to use to cover this all up. And in another video, I'm going to show you how I do that and how we make this into lunch meat. But for now, I'm just going to stick it in my breast bowl over here for later use. So I'm going to show you what we have. We have the two breasts, one with the skin, one over here. We have the two wings and the two thigh quarters. And then over here, oops, and over here, we just have some of the extras, the neck, the gizzards, some extra fat. I'm going to keep putting stuff in here as we go. So what was that fourth bowl for? Well, I'm bringing a fourth bowl over here, and I'm bringing this fourth bowl over here, and I'm going to start picking away at all the meat that I can find on this carcass. This is going to be the meat that I use to can. Now, I might get a smaller knife for this in a second. what you're looking for is just chunks of pure meat. It's going to go in the canner for other meals. Now, if you don't want to can this meat, you could also do the same process. Pick out the meat that you can find and either freeze it separately or make an immediate meal with it. Something like turkey tetrazzini with some chunks of meat. That would be really good. For those of you that are really technical about knives, I know this is a paring knife. I just find the small size a lot easier when I'm trying to pull off these little tiny chunks of meat. Now, I will confess that I do not clean this up as good as you could, mostly because I make broth and then I make dog food. So in future videos, I'm going to show you how this carcass basically has almost zero waste. So basically at this point I'm mostly pulling out all of it from the back, because when you cut out the extremities and the breast, you always end up with these big chunks of meat in the back, in the neck area. The last thing I'm going to make sure I do before I put this in the roasting pan is to take out that plastic piece that they used. You don't want to cook that. So I think I'm going to call that good, considering I plan on using this for broth and dog food. I do want to keep some of the little pieces of meat on it and stuff. But as you can see, it's pretty clean of big chunks of meat. So the last thing I'm going to do is cut this little thing out, and usually if you just pull, it pops out. So I'll make sure you don't keep that in there when you're going to roast it. Now this is going into a roasting pan. So that there is how I break up a turkey. I might do a little bit more here because I do believe that this turkey thigh and drumstick would be too much for just the two of us when it's just me and Chris. So my plan is to cut them up. I think I'm going to take the thigh meat and use it for canning, and then I will keep the two turkey legs. So I guess I will show you real quick how I do that. This is very similar to what we were doing with when we took them off. Just looking for the joint. So if you cut through some of the meat, you should be able to pop that joint. With your finger in there. There we go. You guys probably heard that. And then down here I can actually see, I don't know if you can see that, the little tendons that I need to get through. But you find your knife and you find that socket. Yep, there's some more tendons right here. And it's all little tendons, and they do break pretty easily, but they feel really hard. But you should not ever be having to put your knife through bone. So there we go. One drumstick. One thigh that I will probably cut up for more canning meat, which is why I'm taking off some of the fat. And we're going to do the same with the other thigh after I pick out the feather that was there. And there you go. So I'm going to go ahead and weigh these out to see how much meat we actually got. So the first leg is 1 pound 1 ounce, almost 2 ounces. The second leg is 1 pound 1.5 ounces, so we got about 2 pounds of turkey legs. Then I'm going to do the thighs. So there's 1 pound and 1 pound 5 ounces. And then the wings look like they're about a pound each also. Let's see, pound and 14 ounces. Now we're going to check each of the turkey breasts. This is the breast that I left skinless. That is 2 pounds 7 ounces. And the one with all the skin on it is 3 pounds 10 ounces, so almost 4 pounds. And last thing I have is just the excess meat that I took off of the carcass, and that's 11.7 ounces, so almost a pound. Hit the subscribe button to get notified when I upload new videos on what I do with all this turkey meat. Thanks for watching.